Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome back to the Avon, Megumi Sasaki. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you.
So we were just talking, Megumi and I, about the genesis of this film, and you mentioned to me that you have been working on this movie now for almost a decade.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about not only how you got into making this particular movie and why this story, but a little bit about that process, since it has taken such a long time to get to the big screen?
Sure. I started making this film 2010 after I saw the movie The Cove in New York City. And I saw The Cove won the Academy Award in 2010. And I was really shocked. I was born and raised in Japan. I grew up eating whale meat. That was a popular, school lunch menu, even though it wasn't my favorite dish. And I lived here for 30 years. And when it comes to whaling, I always wonder why it's always one-sided. In this country, in any controversial issues, there's always both sides of the argument, right? But when it comes to whaling or dolphin hunting, we hear only one side, and I wonder why. So when I saw the movie The Cove, I was really shocked. And it was not only one-sided, but it was full of prejudice and misleading information. And I thought, well, the problem is just the lack of information. So just as a storyteller and a filmmaker, I felt urged to tell a story in the entirety. It's not just from the one side. And as Adam introduced me at the beginning, I'm not an activist. I don't have any agenda. I just wanted to tell the world what's happening there and give a voice to those who don't have a voice in this argument.
Within all of that, were there particular nuances that you felt were missing from the movie The Cove, or just from the story in general as it has been presented historically in media, that when you sought out to make this film, you said to yourself, these are the particulars that I would like to capture in my film?
Well, I'm not sure if that was captured in this film, but I think fundamentally we have a different ideas towards the relationship between nature, animals, and human beings. It's deeply rooted in religion or spirituality, depends on the religion. And I'm trying to say, who is right or wrong, what's good or, better or worse. We're just different. We come from a very different idea. And that's the world we live in. We have to coexist with the people who don't, who has a different values, different thinkings towards the not just natures or relationship with the animals, but about everything. So, and in terms of whaling and dolphin hunting, like in Japan, they believe in Shintoism. Their belief towards the nature and animals, it's extremely different from here in a Christian or Judeo-Christian world, which is that where all the animals or living creatures are all equal, whether it's mammal or insects or, the belief is that the God resides in every, parts of the nature, even the mountains and in the rocks and the river. There is a God living there. So for Japanese, it's so peculiar. Why, you have to single out a few species which seems to be similar to humans and, seems to be intelligent, human-like, has a human-like intelligence, but why can't we all embrace all the living forms. So that's their idea. So I think for them it's very strange why, you know, whales and dolphins have to have this very special treatment among so many species in the planet. And but for you know, for people here, they are a very special, you know, creature, and we have to, you know, treat them specially. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just different, you know. We were just different. That's all what I wanted to say.
In your effort to explore and portray that in your film and traveling back to Japan to capture it, what sort of reception did you have in the community? And did it change over the span of time as you were making the film?
Yes, I think town of Taiji has changed. At least, you know, they knew that, you know, there was this controversy going on in the world, but they never thought there would be this kind of like a severe target, you know, and they were just doing whatever they've been, you know, their ancestors been doing, their father, grandfather, great-fathers been doing for over 400 years. And what is wrong with that? And then they don't have an access to the social media, especially in English. They don't know how to respond after the Cove released and then won the Academy Award. So, but they did realize that, okay, there is this argument about the animal welfare, animal rights. So, and then they are under spotlight and they're paying a lot of attention to what they do. So they really have to be careful, you know. They have to, about, you know, the way to slaughter them. And so they are becoming aware, much more so than before.
But as far as you are concerned, you specifically as a person going in to film this movie, was there a general openness to you to capture their
You mean
truth?
Taiji people, fishermen?
Yeah. What sort of a reception did you have? Was it difficult for you to be able to get people to speak in front of a camera and talk about it now that they are more aware, and now that they've been given a platform that perhaps they weren't given before, and now that there's been so much negativity thrown at this very small fishing village and society of people and who have not previously had a mouthpiece? How did they receive the opportunity to speak?
I think they were very skeptical from the beginning towards me. They were skeptical to anyone other than Taiji people, even Japanese. You know, if you come from the other parts of Japan or outside of Taiji, they're very suspicious, with or without camera. And especially somebody like me, I'm almost like a foreigner. But in 2010, when I started filming there, it was like immediately after the Cove was just about to release in Japan. They were very angry. They wanted to say something, but they were told not to be provoked, and they were told to be quiet. But they have so much to say, so they were rather willing to talk to me at the beginning. And then gradually, even by Japanese media, they were portrayed in a very negative way afterwards. So they started shutting down afterwards. So they shut down completely at one point, and then I have to like really open up again and drinking a lot of sake with them and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Last question, and then we're going to take it out to the audience. Just going back to the process, that it was a near decade-long process in making this film. Why did it take so long? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, yes, 2011, there was a tsunami disaster. The next year, I started making the film. So, you know, the whole country, they really have to focus on that, you know, recovery from the disaster. So I had to stop the production there, and then I resumed in 2014. But it's been an extremely difficult process, unlike my last previous films, Herb and Dorothy, that was embraced by the whole world. But this film has been, it's been really hated, I guess, which I expected it. I knew that it's going to be a very controversial film, but I was attacked personally on the social media, and my previous film was attacked, and the film festivals who gave us award was attacked, and the website of the film was hacked really severely, for example, this summer, so that people cannot find out about the information about the film. So there's so many things happened. But I'm so glad that I was able to finish it and put this film in the map, I guess.
Well, thank you for persevering. And on that note, I'm going to take it out to the audience to see if anybody has any questions or comments. We're going to come around with the mic, and we're going to start right over here.
Thank you. I thought the film was wonderful. I have one basic question, however, that I think would be another approach that you might take if you do this again. We probably raise and kill 500 million chicken every year. I don't know how many cattle we kill, we raise them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a food source for us. And I think for every one of these dolphins that are killed, we probably kill 1,000 salmon, and God knows how many tuna. So I don't understand why, they would attack this animal, except that it is one of the smartest, animals that we have that swims. But it's in every single ocean all over the world. I mean, they weren't going to threaten the livelihood of the population, the worldwide population of dolphin, no matter how many dolphin they happen to kill. So I was just surprised that, everybody was so upset about that kind of thing. And I think what was very, very effective for me was that you showed that this was a lovely little town. And just seeing all the men sitting around the table like that, I mean, that's what it looks like in any small community. They're not murderers. And if there was a way to convey that more forcefully, I think the message would be even stronger. I mean, I want to go see the town. My hobby is photography. I'd love to just walk around the streets. It looked like a lovely place. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. So, I'm sorry, what's your question, sir?
Excuse me?
So, your question is?
My question was, why didn't you face the issue of whether or not dolphin were really facing an issue of extinction? I mean, that's the way the press was making it sound, as if these dolphin that are being killed here will mean the end of the dolphin population. That was my first impression when I started thinking about it. I said, that can't be.
Thank you. That's a very good point. Yes, I think the media and I think activists, they give an impression that these dolphins are endangered species, but they are not at all. And as I mentioned in my film, there are 86 or 87 different kinds of cetaceans, whales, and dolphins. And then some species are, yes, endangered, but a lot of them are not endangered, including those dolphins, small whales that the Taiji fishermen are hunting. And yes, I know that there are 300,000 dolphins die from bycatch through big commercial fishing. So why can't we focus there if we really care about dolphins, right? But I think it's easier to target somebody who's vulnerable and who doesn't have a voice like Taiji or fishermen and point the fingers. And especially this town is like a brand name. Taiji is like a brand name for the activists. It's like a Chanel or Prada, because it was featured in the Oscar-winning film. And I think that's easier I think, campaign, I think, for the cause. But for these people, they have a real life. And unfortunately, they sort of, became a target of this activism. Yeah.
We got our next question over here.
Good evening. Ooh, that's loud.
Good evening.
David Michel. I came here to talk, and I have a couple of questions for you.
Mhm.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you too.
I'd have to start with some Japanese and say watashi wa nihon to nihonjin daisuki desu, just so you know, and so we agree, which means I love Japan, and I love Japanese people. I have no quarrel with them. And I was in Taiji in 2013, and I did not have one altercation. I was there to document the dolphin slaughters. I had no bad altercation. As a matter of fact, I was told I could come back anytime. I would even joke with the local police. The other factions, for each activist documenting the slaughter, you're basically being followed all day by local police, prefecture police, secret police, coast guards, and sometimes angry fishermen. And I'm just giving a different perspective because to see a couple of rough activists in the video is definitely has some truth to it. And when people go there, they're not working for a company like Sea Shepherd. It's not a company, it's a movement, and they're not hired to document. They go there on their own free time and on their own money. So there are some people from all walks of life with different reactions, and sometimes it can be traumatizing for some people to witness the dolphin slaughter, the drive. I have a couple of questions, and because this gentleman was also mentioning, the village of Taiji is beautiful. Wakayama Prefecture is beautiful. It's this extreme relief. My French is kicking in my brain, but very, very harsh but beautiful nature. But I found it to find also a piece of paradise, as well as, for me personally, a piece of hell. I made friends with some of the Japanese locals. It took me 2 or 3 days to friend some neighboring retailers. They wanted, I think, to express that they were ashamed, but I said, you don't have to be ashamed. Nobody is against or saying anything bad about the village itself of Taiji, but we're only, like, the activists there are generally only really solely targeting the fishermen and those involved with the Aizata Fishermen Association. And so I have 2 questions, and and I'm offering to answer also questions to offer a different perspective. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, and I should clarify also, I'm also state representative-elect for this district 146, which is downtown Chippenham and South End. Thank you. Is the cove not, I'm going to give you 2 questions. They're basic, they're pretty simple. Is the cove not a wildlife sanctuary, part of a Japanese national park? And my other question is, regarding mercury, suijin, sorry. There was some research, and the mayor of Taiji tried to reestablish or establish the school program with kids eating dolphin meat. And by the way, I'd like to differentiate whales from dolphins, because it's a dolphin drive, but the movie or the documentary seems to be very, very precisely going after whaling or the anti-whaling activists. And that's 2 different things. The anti-whaling activists are in the seas on ships. So my other question is just, what the mayor was trying to do, did that fail? Didn't that fail? I mean, it was proved that it was unhealthy for the children to eat.
You mean the dolphin meat? And you mean the issues of the school lunch?
Iruka and kujira.
Yes, talking about differentiating a dolphin meat and whale meat, the meat served at the school lunch was whale meat, first of all. But the Cove film talked about there was a dolphin, but there was a pilot whale, short fin pilot whale. And that was 2017 when they happened to have a lot of catch. So the fishermen thought, well, that's such a delicacy. So they thought, from their goodwill, maybe we should give it to donate this meat for the school children. And then one of the town's official said, well, there is the rumor that the dolphin meat is, or pilot whale meat or whatever, is full of toxins of the mercury. So we should not feed this to the children. And then the mayor said, okay, enough is enough. We don't want to go this by rumors. Let's do the scientific research. And if it's bad, if it's really toxic, we have to stop it. We can't talk about the tradition. We can talk about controversy. It's about the human life. If it's really toxic, we're going to stop this immediately, not just for school lunch, for everybody in Taiji people. So they did a really extensive research, and then they ended up finding that, yes, there is an extremely high level of mercury found from the Taiji residents' hair sample. But surprisingly, nobody was sick. There's no health effect at all. Nobody was sick, nobody was dying.
Not even in the nervous system? Sorry.
Well, they've been eating this for hundreds of years, and nobody's sick. And they live
Whales.
just as long. And it's not just mercury. What's toxic is not just mercury. Why do we single out mercury? There's heavy metals in there. PCBs, dioxins, all kinds of toxins in there found from the not just dolphin meat, and also it's about the dolphin meat that they eat in Taiji is they like striped dolphins that they eat mostly, and then their toxin level is about the same as the tuna. You can find the same level of the mercury level or the other heavy metal levels from tuna. So why single out dolphins? And why Japanese, not just Taiji people, live the longest than anybody else in the world if they're eating such a toxic food? And more than anybody, why dolphins don't get sick, they don't die if it's that toxic?
And is the Cove a wildlife sanctuary? Sorry, I'm just coming back to the first questions. Thank you.
So my answer to the question is that, yes, they did have a very extensive research, and some residents, Taiji residents, particularly whose mercury level found out to be really high, exceptionally high, they had multiple tests, went through the multiple tests, but they were so healthy, nobody was sick. So that's the result that they found out. And then the school lunch issues, that was just only one time, 1 year, when they had a lot of catch, and which was not dolphin, that was whales. So just to correct the information.
We're gonna bring the mic over to you so they can hear your question.
Yes, I was actually surprised that it was whale meat that was being served in school, because whale has higher mercury concentration than dolphins. I was really surprised that I guess the mayor said that that is health to be consumed. But in the West, I think we would have a different opinion. And I think now I see not only the dolphins or the whales are the victims, but also children and people, because they just go in there and tell a little town, this is okay to eat. I don't know if that study was ever examined and looked at carefully for any bias, for any other, problems. I think that's something, we or you should look into it, or let us see it, because, I can't just look at that and say, oh, okay, so that's okay to eat. That's just not very convincing.
The whale meat that they're serving right now at the school is from South Pacific, Southern Ocean, which is minke whales, so it's not from the local. And then minke whales, minke whales are not endangered. They have more than 700,000 populations in southern oceans. And so it's not endangered at all. It's probably...
I believe they are, and the Southern Ocean is actually another whale sanctuary. It should be protected. And Japan goes there and hunt whales, you know, see it on, you know, documentaries, but call it research. But clearly it's not research. Another thing is that in the, you know, you said to look at all relationships regarding this issue, but what I saw was that you show the perspective of the Taiji residents, and I don't see other perspectives. You said to give a voice to the voiceless, and to me, the voiceless are really the dolphins and the whales, and I didn't see a perspective, you know, from their side. I think you did a good job showing the perspective of the fishermen, but that's very one-sided and very limited perspective. And you know, not everyone here has seen the cove, which shows the other side, and mostly it's just footage and facts. And without that, if we only see this, you might be able to convince some of us, oh, you know, just, you know, the perspective of Taiji, and I don't think that's fair, and it doesn't show a good picture of what it really is.
I really appreciate your comments. The reason why I didn't go through, I didn't show, I mean, it might not, it looks like I didn't really show it, but I think there's so much information. Whales and dolphins' voices, I think, or the voices to protect them are out there, here, in this part of the world. We do all know that, don't we? There's so much information about it. But there's no information from the, or the voices from the little town or fishermen like Taiji. That's why I wanted to give a voice to them, to give a balance.
We're going to go to the mic. Yep, right over there.
I first want to say thank you so much. It's a fabulous film. You really captured the essence of what it's like to be a fisherman, and it could be Japan or it could be Maine. And I think it's a really very, very valuable perspective because their livelihood is at risk. So just in Maine right now, just a month ago, they put a moratorium for another 3 years on the capture of wild shrimp. Wild shrimp were the crop for lobstermen for the wintertime. So basically it's over with for them. So I think what you portray is a very critical thing as to what it takes to be a fisherman, be it in Japan, be it in America. Where I feel that you fell short, and I just would like you to address it, is the social behavior of dolphins. They really are different than lobster or shrimp or flounder, and I just feel like you didn't do a deep enough dive on that. And I'm just wondering why you didn't go deeper with it.
I think the smartness of dolphins, how social animals they are. Yes, I think it's very important, but this film is not about dolphins and whales. I mean, the core message of it, what I wanted to tell through this story is not whether it's good or bad to hunt dolphins. It's about human communications. Why can't we understand each other? Why can't we listen to the other side? Despite the differences, different background, different religion, different nationality, different, I don't know, whatever the values. I mean, we are all different human beings. We come with different ideas. And why can't we just embrace the differences instead of hating each other, instead of imposing your own values? imposing your own righteousness. That's the danger, I think, especially in the world we live in today. So, yes, it started as a dolphin, whale issues, but at the end, it's not about that. It's about us. It's about people. It's about the world we live in today. That's why I did not go into the specifics of the biology of the dolphins, which I think most of us kind of know already. There are so many informations out there. But I just wanted to fill in the gap. What is the information, what is not, it's not available here or to many parts of the world. And also for Japanese audience, there are many things that they didn't know. Like, for example, the group of Sea Shepherd is considered to be a terrorist group in Japan. That's the way the Japanese media portray them. They don't understand the activism. They think it's a kind of business. So I have to sort of, provide the information towards the Japanese audience. So I just wanted to put everything on the table. Like, Adam said at the beginning, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I'm just trying to show as comprehensive picture as possible.
We're going to go there. We're going to sort of move along. I see everybody's hands. We'll get around to everybody, but we're going to sort of come in a circle and weave over this way. We'll start over there.
Thank you for the film. It really demonstrates how complex this issue is. I just wanted to make a comment and ask a question. There were a number of scenes where you saw a giant sculpture of a whale in a park, and the tail sticking out and the head sticking out like it was diving through the concrete. And it reminded me a lot about, there's a similar sculpture in New London in Connecticut, and New London, Groton, a number of our coastal communities there. They seem to be married to a specific definition of the economy that's connected with submarine bases, the Navy in general. Every once in a while, the Navy is threatening to shut down the facilities, and the whole community goes into a panic because everything is tied into that. And what you were just talking about is communication, is that other than the mayor proposing turning the community in Japan into a sort of cetacean research facility, one thing I did see lacking on both sides is an exploration of other options for people that depend on whaling in that community, so they don't have to feel to be trapped by tradition. Because culture changes all the time. That's something that I would certainly like to see. My question is also has to do with the tsunami in 2011, which led to the world's largest ongoing nuclear disaster in Fukushima. How has that been, do you know, while you were towards the tail end of your documentary, how that was impacting the population of the whales and the dolphins?
I really don't know how the tsunami disaster affected the population, but as far as I know, I really didn't hear there was such an impact to them at all. But yeah, I'm sorry, but I just can't answer to the question.
Okay, we're going to move on to this woman over here.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
for being here tonight and sharing with us. I had so many ideas running through my head. So I'm not used to using a microphone.
You're all good.
I
You're all good.
project.
Perfect.
Stand.
Perfect.
So I'm wondering about how you were mentioning how the fishermen. It's about conserving a way of life and not being an outsider going in and trying to tell them how to live. I'm just wondering, with the time that you spent with them, did you hear a lot of conversation? Because I didn't see represented in the movie, and I was really hoping to hear some concern from the fishermen about, I know that overfishing is not an issue, but some concern about the environment, some concern about other forms of bringing some money into the community, because they were saying it's a dying profession, a lot of dying profession, sorry, that a lot of that the children aren't interested really so much in going and participating in whaling, and so they're worried about the tradition dying off. And so I didn't hear discussion of how they're strategizing as a community to stay vibrant, or concerns about the environment. And also the idea of terrorism, the Sea Shepherd and other groups being terrorist type organizations. Well, we have that here in the US too, right? The perception that with the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act, right? That any group that organizes and undermines the bottom line of a company is considered a terrorist organization. And so I think that's sort of an international way of looking at threatening the livelihood of communities. So I don't know, I guess my question is, can you speak a little bit more to the fish? I heard the messaging of tradition and conserving tradition, but just because something's been done for a long time doesn't mean that it shouldn't be changed. And so I just would like to hear a little more about the fishermen's views on that, if you know.
I think the definition of traditions is very different between Japan and the West. I think in the West, when the tradition, whatever has been done for a long time, but if it doesn't fit in today's world, it needs to be stopped, right? And we need to move on, and we just need to demolish the old tradition. That's the way we think here, this part of the world. But in Japan, it's very different. I don't know if any of you have been to Japan, but it's a very peculiar mixture of old tradition and the modern world. And the idea of tradition is so different from here. Whatever has been done by the ancestors, that needs to be passed on to the future generation without questions. So that's their thinking. I'm not saying which is right or wrong. I'm just telling you the difference. So when they're criticized about these whaling issues, the Japanese politicians always say, well, whaling is a Japanese tradition. You know, eating whale meat is a Japanese food culture. I think which is so wrong, you know, because younger generation of Japanese are not eating whale meat anymore. And whaling has been just, you know, continued by a handful of communities, but they want to use it as a symbol. And more pressures or attack from outside of the country, stronger, that they want to protect and, you know, whatever that practice. So, yes, the tradition, I mean, I just want you to understand, to them, tradition is very different. It's very profound, especially for the small community like Taiji. Because they feel that, you know, especially ancestors are very important. Whatever has been passed on to them from their ancestors, they don't want to be the one to stop it. Whatever has been done for centuries, and they don't want to be the one that they stop it. So that's how they feel it.
I'm going to bring it back to the audience in a sec, but interrupt to speculate and wonder then, is it possible perhaps from what you've just said, if that's endemic of Japanese culture, that in fact those who have a feeling that is different from the traditions and those who might be coming from the outside to combat what the Japanese traditions and cultures are might go in with a particular intention, but by provoking the people of a particular community, they're actually reinforcing and strengthening the traditions that, as this person just pointed out, are in very many ways dying, and that perhaps not paying so much attention to it and letting go of it from the perspective of somebody who might be an activist might actually be a more effective mechanism to let the tradition die that they're so concerned about thwarting.
There is yes, there is a sort of like irony. What I see is there that if, let's say, assume there is no pressure from overseas, about whaling and dolphin hunting, right? I think there could be better chance that organically their practice could die faster. Just because of this like tremendous pressure from outside, and they're more like become very stubborn, and they become much more protective of that. So I think that's the irony of this controversy. That's what I observed.
I saw a few more hands. We're going to try to get to everybody. So we're going to go here, here, and to the gentleman over there. Yes.
I'm just going to stand because I'm
Sure.
sinking in this. So thank you for coming. And I found the film to be very interesting. I just want to give a little background. So I'd like to approach it from a different angle. I'm trained as a cultural anthropologist, so I understand what you're saying about the culture and the uniqueness of Taiji and its culture. However, I'm also trained as a linguist, and I worked in Hawaii with Dr. Lou Herman, who was a prominent researcher on dolphin intelligence, language comprehension, etc. He published over 120 papers in peer-reviewed scientific journals. And I spent a summer in his research lab, and I have to say that I went into it with an open mind, and I would spend sometimes 8, 10, 12 hours a day at the lab. And yes, these dolphins were in an enclosed tank for the research. And by the end of the summer, I felt that it was cruel to have them. They were actually Atlantic bottlenose dolphins in Hawaii, which they're not endemic in, they're not naturally found in Hawaii. They're an Atlantic bottlenose dolphin. And even though the research was important, I felt that what I saw in these animals, that they're sentient beings. And they're not fish, they're mammals. And their intelligence was definitely demonstrated to me by the 3 months that I spent with them every day of the week, like I said, 8 to 12 hours a day. And I just think that that's important to consider. And maybe, you know, I also would spend time on the ocean and watch spinner dolphins jumping off the bows of ships. So different species have different behaviors, and maybe the dolphins that are hunted by the people of Taiji are not endangered, but for example, the vaquita is endangered. There's 100 left, okay? So,
I'm sorry?
excuse me, the vaquita in
Vaquita?
South America,
Okay.
river dolphin. So, but my point is that they're sentient beings. And I think that, you know, even though I'd like to be sensitive to the culture and the history of Taiji, my sensibility as trained in science is that that trumps the culture, especially in this day and age when we're destroying our planet. And I think that we have to really think about what we're doing to the planet. And I'm not saying I don't respect the culture. I think that we need to find some kind of balance. And so I don't really have a question. I just wanted to voice my own experiences from working with dolphins and maybe have other people hear that too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We're going to go to the hand that was the person sitting right next to you, actually. There's, yep. And then we're going to
Hi.
go to the gentleman on the side.
Here you go, your glasses. I'm a really nervous speaker. Yeah, firstly, I found your film to be like deeply engaging. It like ripped my heart into 2 separate beating parts. As like a vegan, I'm very opposed to the cruelty of all sentient beings, including humans, and though I respect the intention of all the activists at Taiji, like, just some of the words I heard them using, and it was so cruel to the people living there. It was so disgusting. And images of the Japanese, like the Japan's flag being burned after like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like that's unacceptable. It's so ignorant. And I just wish I could see footage of different tactics being employed. Like we were talking about before, like fishing, just, it's not sustainable on this earth we're all living on. Maybe if there was like people going there, engaging with the community, engaging with the activists living in Japan, born in Japan, who are already opposed to whaling and like dolphin hunting, teaching these communities whose their life is dependent on that form of economy, but like teaching them about vertical farming or something else they could use for food and prosperity. I guess a question, like, did you come across any of that when you were, yeah?
I think, yes. The community like Taiji and who hunted whales and dolphins, they're usually really rural area. They can't farm. They don't have a lot of access to other food sources. So hunting dolphins and whales, it's not just business. It's not just livelihood. It's not just the food sources. If you look at the indigenous community in the far north, like Inuit in Alaska or Greenland, it's something that unites the community. It's their identity. It's so deeply rooted in their heart. And that unites people there. That's something that's been done for a long, long time. So take that away from the community, it means so much. It's not just about job. It's not just about economy, or it's not just about food. Yes, there are so many food available in a country like Japan, but as you can see, there are so many like festivals and spiritual practices. There's whole kinds of cultures surrounding whaling. But I think I touched upon a little bit younger generations. In Japan, they don't like it. They don't like that idea. There are activists, Japanese activists, who are going there to Taiji. Yes, there are. So, 10, 20 years from now, you never know. So, but I think that's their decision. That should be their decision to stop it or continue it. Yeah, that means that those kids really, don't eat whale or dolphin meat anymore. But in their heart, in their DNA, it's inherited. That's what they're proud of.
We have time for 2 more questions tonight. We're going to start with the gentleman here, and we're going to move to the woman over here. And I'm sorry, but we're just running out of time.
So Megumi-san, thank you very much for the wonderful movie.
Thank you.
My grandparents moved from Wakayama Prefecture to California. So I spent half my life in Japan, so I could see both sides. But, I'm thinking of this more as a Q&A session and not, make a speech and give my opinion. So I think you made a very even-handed film. I think people should see it for information. I think you gave many of the sides which may not be readily available here in the States. I didn't see the Cove because I heard it was very one-sided. I figured it might be like going to a Trump rally, so I skipped it. But my question to you is, I really liked your film. Can you share what your next project is so I could look out for it?
Thank you. I'm working on short films, and actually Taiji has a very rich history of immigration. And I kind of finished like first 10 minutes part, and uploaded on the Yahoo Japan about Taiji immigrants came to U.S. on the West Coast, lived in this little island of the Los Angeles port. It's called Terminal Island. And they were all great fishermen, so they, you know, they did pretty well, and their wives and daughters worked in the canneries. And they sort of like supported the early sort of fishing industries in the US before the World War II. And when the war started, they were the first one to be sent to be, first of all, arrested as a spy suspects, and then by FBI, and then they were sent to the concentration camp. They were the first victim of that. And so I'm sort of working on that story a little bit, yeah. It's gonna be probably short film. It's not gonna be a feature length like this, but yeah, it's a different perspective of the Taiji.
Final question of the night. Yes, right over here.
Thank you. It's less of a question, more of a comment. I know that you said that the Taiji community basically eats one type of dolphin, the striped dolphin, mostly, and that it's not endangered, but endangerment is actually, there's a scale of it, so there's vulnerable species, endangered, and then critically endangered, and the striped dolphin is actually listed as a vulnerable species. So I'd just like to put that out there. It actually is in decline. Its population went down by 30% in the last 3 generations, I think, so at 10% per, you know, it's a vast decline. So, yes, thank you. Right, yeah, so the study is limited.
Well, on that note, I just want to thank everybody, all of you in the audience, for such an illuminative Q&A, and for Megumi as well for joining us.
Thank
I know it's a very difficult and nuanced subject matter that brings out so many different thoughts and opinions. So thank you to everybody here tonight for joining us and participating, and I hope everyone gets home safely this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Adam.